Hey traders, checking in on the markets. We had a wild day in the stock market, which is potentially signaling a short-term capitulation kind of bottom. Does that mean the same thing for Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space? I'll show you what I need to see happen for me to say yes. All right, if you didn't see the weekend video that I put out, I went in depth describing how I play oversold bounces, and I'm going to refer to that a little bit in this video as far as things, how are things playing out. So first off, the dollar, we're looking at a potential monthly bull flag on the dollar, but less important than the dollar recently has been the broader market. I just put out the broader market video talking all about how I think this is at least a temporary climax bottom. The FOMC is Wednesday, 2 p.m. We will see crypto volatility in response at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Be prepared for it. So other than that, that's about it for the macro aspect of this week. We need an hourly trend change in the broader market tomorrow. We need daily bounce follow through, but it's going to be the FOMC reaction that leads to this being a temporary bottom or the bounce having a short-lived amount of follow through. Checking in on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin over the weekend, it's the kind of scenario where, again, we are so tied to the stock market correlation right now, where the weekend is just pretty much patiently waiting for futures for the stock market to open again. And we saw Bitcoin tighten up and trade sideways, and a 4-hour trend change confirmed with 0 follow through. And that means zoom out and scout a bear flag. And it was a 12-hour bear flag that confirmed. And again, it was just waiting for the stock market to open futures, and they saw further weakness, and that helped drop Bitcoin down to a lower low as well. Now we're seeing a big time bounce in response to the broader market bounce. And it was interesting because Bitcoin bottomed first. Bitcoin's low of the day was 8 a.m. and we formed a 15-minute higher low, and we kept those going through the morning while the S&P 500 saw further pullback. So this is the first time in a while that we've seen Bitcoin with a bullish correlation compared to the broader market, which means it was just positioned well for the inevitable bounce on some really extreme RSI levels in the broader market. So from here, a lot of people, big picture, are waiting for a break of 30,000. We've got this monthly support level. This is the key support level here, 28.8. If it holds, we maintain a monthly uptrend, but we're certainly going to be scouting the potential of a monthly lower high being the most likely scenario from here. And then we got to scout a head and shoulders. So if we bounce from here, tons of space for that monthly lower high that we're going to have to be cautious of. But again, that's just, we're not even step one of trying to see a monthly higher low being set. We just have a lot of bulls that are saying, I'm going to look for an entry when we break 28,000, 29,000, and look for that to flush out some stops and to then lead to the scales tilting with no shorts left to go short, no bulls left to sell once those stops get triggered, and only bulls looking to buy the dip. That's what a lot of people are waiting for. The more people that are waiting for, the less likely we are to get there, in my opinion, but still remains to be seen whether we will get there or not. Right now, the 4-hour time frame has not confirmed a trend change. The hourly has not confirmed a trend change. So at a bare minimum, that has to take place from here. We have to hold an hourly higher low. Right now, it's a potential hourly bull flag. Retracement size is minimal at this point, and we need to break the high of 37.6 thousand. If we confirm an hourly trend change, we zoom out, and we then need a 4-hour trend change. If we confirm a 4-hour trend change, we zoom out, and we then scout a daily lower high, anything under 43.5 thousand. So again, it's one time frame at a time, and we're playing the zoom out game, and we are cooling off RSI levels. We have to keep that in mind as well. And that was one thing we were watching over the weekend. By the time that 4-hour trend change took place, we weren't oversold on any time frame. I believe the daily was still just under 30, but everything else cooled off. The 12-hour was crushed, but on the bear flag, it cooled off back up towards 30. So now the daily RSI is cooling off a bit on this bounce. And when I say cooling off, I just mean from going from extreme levels and bouncing and heading back towards not being oversold anymore. The weekly is not oversold. There's a lot of space for a weekly lower high next time we see a bounce. So again, when you lose trends on a lot of time frames, it's a slow road to get them back. One time frame at a time, and every time you change a trend bullish, it just means zoom out and scout the lower high on the longer term time frame. So as of right now, I'm still on the hourly because we haven't proven anything yet. And we've seen plenty of times where bulls make a big move, don't change trends, and then we just give it back slowly. So that's the last thing that the bulls want to see as a result of this. And again, watch the broader market, watch the futures chart, the S&P 500, to see if they can change the hourly trend, which has not happened yet. So one at a time. One time frame at a time. And bears are waiting for daily lower highs from here. Again, anything under 43.5 will be a daily lower high. Look at daily EMA 12. We've rejected from it for almost 2 months at this point. Nope, just 1 month. So for 1 month, we've been rejecting from it. And we could bounce another 10% from here just to get to that resistance level. And at this point, if I'm a bear, I'm waiting for daily lower highs. I'm being a bit patient because bears obviously had their run over the last many weeks, but specifically this big flush down the last 4 days. Dominance chart is bouncing. So it's interesting that Bitcoin led this move on the way up here. And normally we see a crypto space bounce and the altcoins lead the way up. But Bitcoin is leading the way up. The dominance chart has this triple bottom in the 39s. Anything under 47.7 is just a lower high. But this weekly pattern, once this eventually breaks, assuming we're going to set another weekly lower high compared to 47.7, we're going to be looking for a break February or March. And that's going to be very notable for me. When's the last time the dominance chart got this tight? This is it on the monthly perspective. It's happened a couple times, but it's fairly rare. It happened here. April 2019. What was Bitcoin doing? April 2019. Led to a bull move. So again, that bull move up. Bitcoin's going up. Altcoins are going faster. Dominance chart. No, I take that back. Bitcoin is going up faster than the altcoins. I got to double check that. That doesn't seem right. April, May, June, and then sideways. April, May, June, and then the dominance. So that's interesting. So anyways, what I'm going to be looking for is how does this pattern break and what are Bitcoin and altcoin doing relative to each other when that takes place? And then bigger picture, if you pull up the 6-month time frame, we've got a clear higher low attempt compared to 35.4. Obviously, the bulls want to see this being a resurgence in Bitcoin and everything's going up, but Bitcoin's leading the way up. But again, the majority of this bull market that we have seen in the last year and a half, and I know people are questioning whether the bull market's ended, but forget that. The last year and a half of trading, it was altcoins being stronger on the way up for the majority of the time, aside from brief periods. So watching to see if there's going to be a change in that bigger picture structure. Ethereum, trying to bounce as well. Big lower wick, high volume day, hourly trend has not changed. And again, though, I'm at this point, I'm in a starter position on ETH and Mana. Those are the names that I have chosen to play the oversold bounce with. And at this point, they're uneventful trades. And I really focused all my attention on the stock world today. And again, it's just fees. The amount of dollar volume that I moved in the stock market to have a really good day playing the bounce, if I was doing those same exact trades in crypto, I would have spent, I don't know, $5,000 in fees today at least. 5,000 probably, which just is not worth it. Like I can do the exact same trades with as much volatility, more liquidity, and not pay $1. So I really have to have more opportunity in crypto volatility than in the stock market to get me to focus on crypto and to pay those fees. And as long as we're correlated to the stock market as we have been, I will always choose the stock market for that reason. But at this point in time, my trades right now are not meaningful. I'm probably down a tiny bit. My average is probably right under or right around 2,500, and it's a starter. I'm still very much cash right now as I'm patiently watching. And I know we need a 4-hour trend change because anything under 25.50s is a double top already, and anything under that's just a lower high, and we need a 4-hour trend change. So I can look for an entry next 4-hour consolidation using the low as a stop. I can be more patient. I can wait for a daily bounce and say, okay, that's a big enough daily bounce. I'll scout a higher low on the daily time frame. Because again, bears are waiting for daily lower highs to re-enter positions, and then those bears are going to be hoping that Bitcoin drops down to break 30,000, which is still a possibility. This stock market bounce is very short-lived at this point, and we don't know what the FOMC reaction is going to be. So that is on the table, and every single trade game plan that you establish needs to... This is the face that just caught my eye. Distracted. It's a good one. Wasted. So every single trade game plan needs to account for this is our bottom, or we're going to drop down and break 28.8. You need to know what you're going to do if this is our bottom or if that bear break happens. And you need two different game plans to establish your game plans for that. I would love a break of that support level because I have the vast majority of cash. And when things get that extreme, that's when I go aggressive. So if you give me a weekly, daily, 12-hour, 4-hour, hourly, 15-minute RSI that's oversold, I'm going to start scaling it aggressively. And otherwise, I'll still have positions, but it won't be nearly as aggressive because my style of trading, my bounce aggressiveness matches the bears. So they need to be real aggressive if I'm going to get real aggressive. So still have to change trends one time frame at a time. And I'm focused on the 4-hour right now. And there are some 4-hour potential falling wedges shaping up, which we'll look at on some altcoins because this bear break didn't see a whole lot of follow through. But ETH BTC is still very weak. Daily oversold. Monthly is scouting a higher low. Anything above 593. And again, if that dominance chart on Bitcoin breaks the weekly lower highs, this chart's going to lose the monthly uptrend. So anything above 593 is a monthly higher low. Currently 4-hour, very weak bounce, just looking for a 4-hour lower high to be the result of this bounce. So just looking at this alone, definitely glad I chose other coins aside from Ethereum because this ETH BTC bounce is extremely weak at this point. LTC, double bottom, so we held support, so that's one difference. Looking at it from the 12-hour perspective, so low, high of the bounce, higher low, and now we're range bound with 112.76 as resistance. So the stronger altcoins, essentially we dropped harder, we bounced harder, and that created enough space to hold the low while Bitcoin and Ethereum and weaker coins hit lower lows. So you can split up. You've got a couple dozen coins out of the ones that I watch. You got a dozen coins that broke support and a dozen coins that held support. And that's how I'm distinguishing these names right now. Who is forming a 12-hour higher low versus who's coming off of a fresh low. And I'm still keeping an eye on Litecoin because this LTC BTC weekly chart is still real tight. We did break support with zero follow through, which is what a falling wedge is. Hard to imagine what would lead to a bull break of this pattern with violent follow through, which is what the bulls would hope for. Seems like it would be some kind of major news event would be needed because I can't really foresee Litecoin just all of a sudden outperforming Bitcoin by massive amounts. But we'll keep an eye on it until it breaks, one way or the other. And again, if Bitcoin dominance chart breaks those weekly lower highs, this chart will break down. And if this chart breaks down, I no longer am interested in it. Sand. So I'm keeping an eye on these metaverse names for a monthly higher low to try and form. Monthly EMA 12 support is down there trying to catch up. And we are daily oversold backburners. This is first daily oversold conditions coming from all-time highs, scouting a monthly higher low. Now we know it's bigger picture Bitcoin that's going to dictate the short term, but keeping an eye on metaverse names to see if they can regain a bit of comparative strength for those monthly higher lows, which is a reason that I chose Mana. I can't trade sand on Coinbase. So at this point in time, 4-hour perspective, anything under 314 is just a lower high. And we held support here. So again, looking at the 12-hour time frame, we just got little tightening ranges here. Maybe we go to the 6-hour equilibrium. So low, high of the bounce, higher low. And if we do not break 325 on this bounce, it's just a 6-hour equilibrium and tightening range that will eventually break probably sometime tomorrow. So still tight and sideways. And the sand BTC is a bit weaker. Again, it's been Bitcoin leading the way up here. So we're even further from a bull break, which increases the probabilities of a 6-hour lower high being the result of this bounce. If this dominance chart continues to keep strong on Bitcoin while this daily bounce is taking shape, I will definitely look to play Bitcoin as a part of this bounce. And one thing we often see happen is Bitcoin leads the way as far as gaining confidence, and then that confidence seeps out into the altcoin world. And oftentimes it'll come in a tightening range. So we'll set a big wide range, and then Bitcoin will tighten up within it. And while it's trading sideways, that's when the altcoins play catch up. And that's when bulls say, okay, well, Bitcoin has set the bottom for now. and that's gonna make me comfortable putting money in whoever altcoin. And that's what we see oftentimes happen as well. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. Does the Bitcoin dominance chart start to fade now that we're seeing some confidence return to the crypto space because of the broader market bounce that took place today? Atom has been a lead bull. Atom has a brick wall of resistance at its all-time high, 44.80, 44.70, 44.56. Great top fishing for bears. And then we rolled over and lost the daily higher lows. On this current bounce, anything under 42.10 is just a daily lower high. But again, the bounce gains off this low are very significant, and the weekly is still in a tightening range here. We are scouting a weekly higher low. So worth keeping an eye on Atom, and the Atom BTC chart is trying to break to all-time highs as well. Puttering around here around this level, we broke resistance without much follow through. So keeping an eye on it. Trying to be a little weekly bull flag. But definitely one of the stronger names. All I got to do is pull up the chart or my list here and see up 3.1%. And Bitcoin definitely standing out. Again, it's been so rare in the last year and a half to see Bitcoin green and every single alt red. It just has not happened that way in a long time. So it's definitely getting my attention. If it only lasts a day, then who cares? But if it starts to become a consistent pattern, it will be very telling for me. And I'll be focused on Bitcoin a lot more if that's the case. But a lot of red in the alt space the last few days, trying to relieve that with some bounce. Theta has been a weaker name. So Theta 4 hour, anything under 280 is just a lower high. We've got EMA resistance. We dropped to the lower low. Granted, there was no bear follow through. Let's see if there's a rising or a falling wedge shaping up, I should say. Only 2 support touches, so not confident in that validity yet. Something to keep an eye on. It's more of a channel. Either way, again, bears are scouting daily lower highs, and a name like Theta has been much weaker. Anything under 466 is a daily lower high. Bears will be waiting for daily lower high entries. Generally speaking, the loss of the 4-hour uptrend is the first indication that a daily lower high is being set. And we don't even have a 4-hour uptrend yet, so the daily bounce is not underway. But look at the BTC pairing. Any BTC pairing that's down at its lows is obviously showing us a lot of weakness. Weekly has been a clear downtrend for a long time. So again, establish your game plans. Are you looking for bounces? You can be looking for bounces right now and then looking for bearish entries in 2 days once the daily bounce plays out, if it does indeed play out. And one other thing that I want to point out is with the Trader Pro alert system and with our signals, we can be using signals that normally I like to play with bounces. They can be signals for bearish entries as well. Because again, when you're in a downtrend and in a downtrend on a lot of time frames, it's RSI levels getting overbought on shorter term time frames that signal lower highs on longer term time frames. So here on Bitcoin, 15-minute time frame, this was the 15-minute back burner. That means this is the first time the 15-minute RSI hit over 70 after a lot of weakness. And that marked our 4-hour lower high. We then went from that 36.2 top and dropped all the way down to 34.6. And again, on the Bitcoin time frame, that 15-minute RSI hitting overbought conditions marked this top. Granted, we didn't get a ton of follow through, but certainly enough to position for at least break free worst case scenario. SPY did it today as well. Look at SPY, S&P 500. Look at the 5-minute RSI, just under 70, and that led to the most significant consolidation on the bounce. So RSI levels getting overbought in downtrends are what bears look for potential signals. You can use the back burners or you can use the super stacks as well. So super stack on Bitcoin, we can see we had, again, some of these hourly marking some tops along with some bottoms, but hourly super stack. Again, it just shows bull exhaustion. If we're in a daily downtrend and you see an hourly super stack, it just shows us a lot of time frames are in overbought conditions when we're scouting a lower high on a longer term time frame. So again, you can use RSI levels. There's great for bounces, but it can also help with bearish entries as well. So in the short term, 4-hour trend change needed to have any confidence in a bounce with follow through. Then we zoom out and scout daily lower highs And if I were looking to play bearish, which again, I don't trade crypto bearish on Coinbase, which is why I'm glad that stocks allow me to play bearish with ease. But if I were looking bearish, I would be scouting daily lower highs from here. I wouldn't be interested in shorter term timeframes than that, just because of how beat up we have been over the last week. Get ready for FOMC Wednesday, and I won't have any sizable position going into that, just because it's a coin flip gamble. And if you do have a sizable position or anything meaningful, set those stop levels, and we'll see how it plays out. I appreciate you watching. Remain protective out there. Stop levels and game plans on all your trades. It can always go lower than you think, and this may be our bottom, but obviously not anywhere near having high probabilities because we haven't even changed the hourly trend yet. One time frame at a time. Key 28.8 thousand support. Question is, can the broader market put in a longer term low and recover for the next month back towards all-time highs after this volume climax we saw today? Or is the FOMC or Russia invading Ukraine going to smash the market back down again? I have no idea. All we can do is gauge probabilities on a daily basis as we get new information. Do good things. See you soon. So for adventure time now, got back from the road trip to Florida, got a call from my buddy as I was looking for my next move, and he said, hey, I got a friend of a coworker, of a sister friend who needs someone to come house sit a couple dogs on the beach in Costa Rica in Pavones. And I said, okay, let's do that. So that was a great connection to have, and ended up going for 6 weeks to this house sitting spot, and it was perfection. And the change of pace that going to Costa Rica brought was just, it couldn't have been more perfect in terms of the lifestyle, just slower paced. Pretty much all you got to think about every day is, what do I want to eat today? And that's about it. When am I going to get in the ocean? What time is it? Where's the tide at? And Pavones has the second longest left to right breaking wave in the world. So it's a surfer's haven. And there's also a bunch of yoga retreats. So there's a bunch of yogis there. And the most important part is it's off the beaten path. It's all bumpy dirt roads and about a 6-hour bus ride if you want to get there from a city with an airport. So that keeps tourists away, and it keeps it really awesome and low key. Now, as we were leaving a few years ago, they were just building some kind of resort, something, and it felt like things were about to change. Hopefully that didn't happen, but I haven't gone back since then. So we'll talk about some stories and hanging out with the dogs. We'll talk with the dogs in a later video. But it was the kind of thing where we went for 2 weeks and stayed in a hostel to get a feel for the area and to meet people. We brought our jam instruments. And that was the best part about the hostel, is there were always people around. It was a big community kitchen. This beach is, 5-minute walk from anywhere that you stay in Pavones. And there are waves every single day. It just depends on the tide. Twice a day, there will be awesome waves. And I love body surfing. It's one of my favorite things to do. So having that available, I would just trade in the morning and then get into the ocean and walk the dogs. And that was the day. And that was the first time that I experienced a euphoria money growing on trees market. That was 2013, 2014. And the US penny stocks, they all ran 500 to 1,000% in the span of about 2 months, even less than that. So it was just massive euphoria, like we've seen with crypto, like we've seen with Canadian MJ. So again, these cycles just keep repeating themselves, but this was happening in the Canadian or in the penny stock MJ world. And we had a chat room where we just collected some like-minded individuals and chatted with each other and talked about plays. And that was really the first step towards the chart guys in terms of running a chat room and organizing things and staying productive and seeing what a team could really do working together. But being able to do that here was pretty much heaven on earth and just absolute perfection. There's a little skate park that the locals had built. So this is the hostel, and it was just a jungle. The plant and animal species there are insane. Life is everywhere. And this place tucked away in the jungle, again, just late night jams with other travelers that were coming through. And I can remember one night it was just pouring, and this guy was freestyling, and I was playing the drum, and my buddy was playing the keyboard, and it was just a good old time. There was a little kid who lived there. We brought these balls where you hit them. They light up in all different colors, and at night we would chuck balls at each other. Lizards were everywhere. There's Dan in a hammock. So we're going to go to the castle on the beach, which is I think what they called it, and the dogs, Baloo and Cowboy, for some more stories with them and some more Pavonas. Go to Pavonas. Go to Costa Rica. I got to go back. There's so many places to go, but when you get to a good one, you want to go back. But man, that was perfection. Internet wasn't bad. It would cut out at times, and it did lose me money one morning. I can remember the internet cut out, and I wasn't able to sell. But it was the gap up open play. That's where I learned it. In that run, you buy into strength at the end of the day, you're going to gap up open the next day. And we didn't have pre-market trading in the penny stock world, so it was just this guarantee. And just lock it in, and ended up coming home with maybe twice as much money as I left with before I got there. So good times. See you tomorrow.